Right, so the first topic of the podcast is all around starting an online business, which is, of course, what you've moved to do. And the first question I'm going to ask you about this is, what made you start an online business?
I think I have really struggled in the past with getting a job. So I've never got a job off of my own back ever.
Right.
I've gone for interviews, never got them. Every single job that I've got has been either because I've had family members work for the business, or my family's had like a big say in kind of like my position then in like getting a job there. And
It's
I
not
think
necessarily a bad thing.
Oh no, it's not a bad thing at all. I think like just always kind of like held that over me of being like nobody's ever wanted to employ me, so I've never wanted to. As like the thing is, it's going to sound kind of like privileged, but like I've never then wanted to work for anyone because it feels like I've never like actually gone and got a job off of my own back kind of thing.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to kind of be my own boss, and I think as soon as I was kind of out, because I was going to go to uni a couple of years back, took out a gap year and never ended up going, felt like a failure in doing that in itself. I was like, no, like I'm actually going to make something of not going to uni. And then obviously I did my PT course, got that in the bag, started doing like a bit of personal training, and I was just like, the money is in online. Like
yeah, definitely.
The money is in doing it online. Like there's only so far that like
There's only so many hours in the day to actually be one-to-one with someone.
Exactly. And like the area I'm based in, it's not a wealthy area. It's not London, like it's not Bath or anything like that. Like the prices that I'm charging like kind of have to be competitive with who is around me. And when you look at it in that respect, it's like the amount I'm getting an hour is sometimes just, is it worth doing? I love one-to-one training though. Like it holds a place in my heart. Like doing like one-to-one PT sessions, so I would never not do them. It's not feasible in my opinion to live off of a PT salary in my area.
Yeah, no, I totally understand, and that's why quite a lot of PTs these days either do both, or quite a lot of them are genuinely just moving to online, like yourself.
I think most people go straight in online now.
Yeah.
I think obviously that comes with its implications, but
it's always good to get that one-to-one sort of experience, isn't it? Knowing how to deal with people on a personal level. Have you had any sort of struggles with setting up online, or has it gone plain sailing?
No, not at all. So think back to January 6th of last year, 2020. I launched my first online business, being built by me. I'm still obviously underbuilt by me, but I started off with, basically I paid so much money for an automated system. So
I think we've had a conversation about this actually.
Yeah, like I can't name names. No. I
don't worry about that.
I started that. I paid a lot for this like automated system, which is what more or less all fitness apps are on, whether they're that system or like a regurgitated version of it. And it's basically just, it produces plans based off of algorithms that people put in. So they sign up, and it's coaching for, if you want to coach the masses kind of thing. Like if you're not looking for that personal side, like that building the rapport, like the strong relationship that most PTs love and thrive off of, great, go for that. But I did 3 months of that and grew to hate my job, because my love is programming, and it's having that element of like personalization back and forth with the people who done the website. They tried to kind of like reassure me of hesitations, being like, no, it's fine, we can work the system however you want it to be worked. So if you want to put more time and energy into programs, that's fine, we can do it. And it's charging people like so, like the bare minimum as well. So obviously it's nice to kind of have that option as a more affordable coaching route, but it's not coaching. It's not.
Yeah, it's just automated, and you're sort of a face on the front of it.
Exactly. It's slapping my brand, my face onto an algorithm-based system, and then expecting people to pay for personalized training when it's not.
Yeah, it's a robot sort of spitting it out for you.
100%. And I am actually still on that system, trying to. I've got a new, like, completely new coaching pack now. But I'm still attached to that system because of like contracts. I've still got like, I think 2 people left on there who are seeing out a 3-month subscription, but I've kind of been in that track for like over a year now. So yeah, it's been like 13 months now nearly. But that is 100% my biggest complication. Like, I needed to do more research. I just went with what was the easy option and what I saw a lot of my used to be idols using. So
which
like, if my idols are using that, like I want a bit of that. I want to try and go that route as well. And it just made me end up resenting my job because I wasn't actually doing what I love, which was teaching and coaching and educating. I was basically an admin assistant replying to emails and messages, which
is not what you sort of sign up for to begin with, is it?
I'm on a completely new platform now. I've been doing this platform since end of September. So I've been doing like the 2 combined and just trying to get people transferred over, getting new clients on. And I've gone almost solely to like one-to-one coaching and like an element of group coaching, which is just much more my style.
So what I was going to say next was, what have you enjoyed most about sort of moving to your own online business and being your own boss?
I do think the flexibility of being able to work whenever, wherever, but with that comes the risk of, if I don't do the work, I don't have my income. And I think it does it's an incentive because it definitely forces me to want to be more productive and forces me to actually want to work and put like my all into it, because if not, I don't get the income and I potentially damage my reputation in the meantime, because people obviously sign up. If they don't then get what they thought they were paying for, it's like, don't go to her, she's not very good.
That's it, isn't it? You've got to be sort of wired a certain way to be able to go into that sort of being 100%. Your own boss. Mm-hmm. And like you say as well, you've got 272,000 followers. It only takes one bad review to sort of spread like wildfire, doesn't it?
Especially at the moment.
Yeah, there's a lot of negativity going around on social media these days.
100%.
So like you said as well, being able to work whenever you want, would you structure your sort of normal day-to-day?
So at the moment, I really tried my best to be one of those 5 a.m. morning people. And I used to be like, when I was a retail manager, I'd have to get up at like 5 in the morning, go like drive like half an hour to get to work kind of thing. And that was fine, like, because I had to be there, I was there. But the fact now, I think in the back of my mind, where I can start work at any time, it has in a sense made me somewhat physically lazier, because I tend to stay in bed now until about 8, which again may be early for some people. But I get up about 8ish, obviously like get somewhat ready, have my coffee, have my breakfast, start work. And then 11 till 2 p.m. is my time to train, get lunch, shower, like get actually properly dressed for the remainder of the day. Do all of like my own kind of personal care, stress release kind of stuff. And then from 2 till maybe 8 or 9, depending on what day it is, I then work doing like check-ins, programming, content, all that jazz.
I get what you're saying about you used to be able to get up early because you had to be at work for a certain time. Like, I've even seen it during this lockdown. So I work in Manchester, which is like 30-mile drive from where I live. And I'd usually get in for about 8 o'clock, which meant my alarm was going off about 5:30, 5:45, which obviously I was used to at the time. But ever since this lockdown, because I don't have to drive an hour to Manchester every day, my alarm's been going off at like 7:30. So it's not it's not that I'm losing out on maybe an hour and a half each day. It's that I'm sort of not making the most of that time that I was getting up originally. So I could be a bit more productive with that hour and a half. Instead, I'm just in bed, basically. So you alluded to it before about your plans for the next year or two. What are the future plans of Built by Elle, if there's any that you can share on the podcast?
Yeah, obviously I'm quite like open in stuff like that. I don't have like major stuff. Like it's I think if we look at things from like a year perspective, it's definitely just like getting through the pandemic. It's definitely offered and come with its complications, especially for a newly self-employed person. There's kind of no help, no grant, not anything in that sense. And it's my first goal is to get through the pandemic. I'm very grateful that I've been able to become self-employed during a pandemic in the first place. Very, very grateful for that. So it's riding the wave through that. My intention, once hopefully it's blown over, is to move to potentially either Australia is not as realistic, just because of like the pricing and stuff. I think cost of living is much higher.
Yeah, it is quite expensive over there, so I've seen.
If I'm going out there with the intention of kind of just staying self-employed, I don't think I'd be able to live the life I live back here.
Right. Every day's a beach day in Australia, isn't it?
Yeah, literally. Or Bali.
Very nice. Yeah, I've never been, but from what I've heard, it is stupidly cheap to live out there.
Yeah, I think when I was looking at it with my partner, it's like the cost to rent an apartment or like even a whole house with a swimming pool is stupid amounts. It works out like 6 to 10 grand for a year or something like that.
It's not bad, is it?
Yeah.
I've known people at work that have gone there on holiday and they've managed to get, I think it was a 5-star hotel, and they get their own butler with it. I was like, what? For about 20 quid a night.
Yeah, it's
so you could literally live there for a whole month for what, 600 quid?
Yeah.
It's insanely cheap.
So yeah, when you then put that into perspective in the sense of over the course of 10 months, that would equate to something like 6 grand.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, again, mad. When then you look at renting an apartment, like a 1 bed in my area, and it's like a grand or 2 grand a month.
Yeah, I know people that I work with in Manchester, and they're sort of renting out a 1 room in a house share for, I think it's about 800 quid for a house share. I'm like, what? And they always ask me like, George, when are you going to move to Manchester? It's like, I'm not spending 800 quid a month on a bedroom. Like, I'd rather drive in. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, move abroad for plans are maybe half a year. I need to experience a different quality and way of life. I think stuck like in the UK, like it's definitely a different way of life to what I hoped to have been living in that sense.
In terms of what?
Just in terms of like, I don't controversial, like, well, not controversial. I feel like a lot of people really think like this. I don't agree with a lot of like what is in place in the system in terms of like the government, how they do things. I just don't agree with like a lot of the stuff in the system. And I think if I have the opportunity to move away for a while, I'm going to take that. And maybe I'll realise that, do you know what? I had it better in the UK. I had it okay in the UK. I'll come back.
Yeah.
But it's definitely something I need to explore, and travelling is definitely has been on the cards and in my thoughts for so long. But then when we look at things from like a 5-plan view with my goals, I want to open a gym at one point.
I've always thought about this, but then it's so hard to compete with the commercial gyms these days, isn't it? With 100%. Them being so cheap.
Yeah, 100%. I think the kind of plans that me and Hugh's my partner, has spoken about in terms of like opening a gym, like the way and intention of how we'd want to do things. We do it so different and offer such a different experience as a whole in comparison to a commercial gym that you couldn't even put them on the same level in terms of like it just isn't the same. So it wouldn't even be maybe associated as a gym.
So what would it be associated as?
Kind of like we're either looking at like a well-being or wellness center.
Right. So like a sort of David Lloyd's all-in-one sort of gym, pool, tennis, kids clubs, restaurant.
No. Not really that vibe. More so, it offers kind of therapy, but all types of therapy.
Okay.
It would offer maybe like yoga retreats. It would offer like the opportunity to stay overnight, like overnight stays, kind of like a complexy.
Yeah, I get what you
mean. Or we'd be looking kind of at an athlete center, so something that was quite niche in the sense like it doesn't cater to everyone, and it's kind of more so not made for everyone, as ever harsh that may sound, but also offers like the element of like recovery within the athlete center. It offers like everything an athlete, regardless of what route you're going down, it would cater to you.
Okay, that sounds very interesting, and hopefully look forward to seeing that in a couple of years. Well, the next 5 years.
Yeah,
that's the big one. Let's see. So we're going to move on to the second topic of the podcast, which is strength training as a woman, because it has become a lot more popular, hasn't it, over the last couple of years. Especially, I think, sort of fitness Instagram has really helped the push as well. Everyone seems to be having an Instagram account these days just to track the progress more than anything.
Yeah.
And obviously, with the growth that you've had over the last 2 years, I think you've been obviously a bit of an inspiration to quite a few girls to get out there and lift, especially seeing some of the weights that you've been pushing over the years. So we're going to start off with how long have you actually been weightlifting, and what made you start?
So the thing is, like, everyone kind of has the same story of like, I've been going to the gym however many years, but I actually have been going properly, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And I'm the same in that sense. So I've been going to the gym probably about 5 years, but properly weightlifting for maybe about 4-ish. Depends. Like, I feel like the further you get into your fitness journey, the more you critique your previous self, because obviously I say 4 years, but then if I look back at myself in year 1 of that 4 years, I'm like, what the hell were you doing?
So what was it that you used to do? Was it straight up cardio?
So I actually bought, Tammy Hembro. You don't?
I don't.
Crazy. She was like the kind of face of fitness maybe like 5 years ago. I think she's still heavily ish the face of fitness for some girls, but she's definitely gone down more of like a lifestyle approach. Whereas if you scroll down her Instagram and look like 4 years ago, it's all fitness. And I bought one of her guides from Depop because someone was selling it for 50p, and it was actually just like a PDF download. I was like, I'm not paying £50 for a PDF document that's probably going to tell me stuff I already know. So I bought it off of Depop for like 50p, and I'd literally go into the gym, because the gym had like a separate room, like a little tiny box room, and pray no one was in there, so I could just take up the whole room, because it had like loads of preloaded barbells. Like, I think the weight ranges was something like 10 kg to 45 kg on like these preloaded barbells. I'd go there and just complete like my 60-minute work, like weightlifting session in there, come out and maybe do like 10 minutes of sprints on the treadmill, and that was like my life for about a year.
So you did start off actually lifting weights to begin with. So you find quite a lot of girl stories as, I used to be on cardio for an hour and then I started lifting weights, but you actually started lifting weights straight away.
Yeah, so I definitely went into more like unintentional calisthenics at one point, because I was doing like a lot of bodyweight stuff, just like getting the feel for a lot of movements. I would say
to start.
Pardon?
It was always a good place to start doing bodyweight.
but again, I did build up a good base, and I've always had like that athletic background. So I was in quite a privileged position coming into the gym because I already had like that built up muscle memory from coming from the athletic background. And then within like year 2, that's when the ego lifting started.
So what, you said you had the athletic background. What did you used to do during athletics? What was your
like,
go-to?
I mean, in terms of like athletic background, it's kind of every sport. I did do athletics as well, but from like 4, like when I was 4, I did ballet, tap, modern, kind of all of those type of things.
Yeah.
Went into swimming, then went into like netball, basketball, football, rugby, sprinting. I did 200 meters, badminton, bit of tennis. Wasn't very good. That was kind of the only sport I was like, no, bye, I'm not doing that. Yeah, I kind of did that I then competed in gymnastics for a while. From I think I was like 10 to 14, I competed in gymnastics.
Right. So a lot of sports then.
A lot. Like my whole childhood was sports.
Yeah, no, I can understand that because I was the exact same. I've done plenty of sports. Yeah, since I was about, I think 6, I played football. I've always played football basically until I was, how old was I? I was about 16 when I had to start taking rowing more seriously. I've done, what else did I do? I used to do taekwondo, cricket, swimming. What else? Athletics. I've also done a bit of athletics. Can't remember what else. And then I've been playing football ever since I stopped rowing, basically at the end of college.
Okay.
So
yeah, when do you stop rowing? College?
Yeah, basically because I started working, so I didn't have the time to train 9 times a week. Starting work.
Crazy.
Yeah.
9 times a week.
Yeah, so it'd be every day, and then twice on a weekend each day. So yeah, a lot of time was taken up rowing. Missed a lot of 18ths and things like that.
Did you enjoy it though?
Yeah, it was worth it at the time.
Worth it.
Yeah, that's all that matters. So you've been lifting for 5 years total, was it?
4 years. I'd say like a year was kind of
sort of finding your way.
A year of talking about doing ab exercises.
So how old were you when you started that then?
17.
17. So not a late start, so to speak, but also not quite.
Compare it to like the age in which girls are starting at now.
Yeah, it's
older, because like I've had it where I've had like 14-year-old girls like inquire about coaching, and I just like, as much as I would love to kind of be that starting position for them to like equip them to going into lifting, it's not my area of expertise. Like I don't feel confident in being like the starting point for a 14-year-old girl, particularly when it's just like
you're still growing at that age, aren't you, as well? It's it's a very specialist sort of area. It's like when you look at training sort of antenatal women, the elderly and things like that, and they're seriously overweight as well. They're all sort of specialist categories, aren't they? And I think there needs to be sort of within PT qualifications now as well, because there are kids that are looking to start sort of going the gym earlier and earlier now, that there needs to also be a bit of training around that as well.
100%.
I think most gyms have a minimum age of 14, but you've got to go with an adult, I think, until you're 16.
I think that's quite common, until 16.
Yeah, but that's not really any use if the adult they're going with isn't really up to speed with sort of health and safety in a gym environment.
I think a gym in my local area, what they do is you can go to the gym under the age of 16, but you can be with like an adult member of the gym, so you can go and do a PT session with one of the PT, like the personal trainers. That's something that my little brother done for a while. So I think some places offer that, but again, not all.
I started going the gym at 15. So I've been going for 9.5 years. pretty much. It's a long time, isn't it? I feel quite old when I say that. But our gym used to only let you in between, I think it was up until 5 o'clock. So I'd literally have to run down from school, quickly get changed, get in the gym, and I'd have maybe sort of an hour tops.
Yeah.
So
it's enough.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just doing literally full body every single session.
Was you?
At the time,
Wow.
yeah. At the time, yeah. 5 times a week was just full body.
Yeah.
And then I started doing my own research into like how to train properly, and then
100%.
yeah. So I used to do that. What is your current training split? Like I know I've noticed you do a bit of CrossFit in the mix with your weightlifting now as well.
So I have actually been on the search for a coach because my intention. Oh, I should have said this in my plan. Like year or so plan. I am looking to compete at one point.
Compete in.
The thing is, I think I would do really well in a powerlifting competition, but I'm just not about kind of fixating my training on like progressing in free lifts. I think if I'm going to do something, I want to be amazing and kind of like at an elite level across all aspects of fitness. And I think I'd be doing a disservice to my younger self if I didn't use like all of the previous training that I've had in my life to then just go into doing free lifts. I think like I'm very strong and I like, again,
you definitely are very strong.
But I don't like, it doesn't give me like as much joy as what doing like a Metcon or as what doing like an more like incorporating some element of Olympic lifting gives me. Like you feel so strong and so like powerful doing that. So the route now is kind of turf game vibes or CrossFit vibes. Very, very similar. Like they have a lot of similarities. So one of those two paths, and I've been in search for a coach. I have actually found one. Which hopefully I'm starting mid-February with.
Sounds exciting.
And yeah, it's very, very exciting. I've never had a coach. Like I've never had someone kind of tell me what to do.
Actually.
Yeah.
I've always done it off my own back and off my own research, but I guess it's good to sort of get someone else's perspective.
100%. I think we know our bodies better than anyone, but at the same time, it can kind of lead to like us being our own worst enemy and like implementing like self-sabotaging techniques on ourselves because we think we bode well off of doing XYZ when really if we got the perspective of somebody else, they'd be like, well actually if you did this you'd optimize your performance and how you look and what you want so much better.
But you're going to be biased, aren't you?
Yeah,
but because you'll start doing things that you enjoy doing more than the things that you need to actually do to progress as an athlete.
Exactly. And you think you know best as well, especially for a coach. Like I think when you have kind of that area of like expertise behind you, you think you know best because it's like, oh, I'm a coach myself, like I know what I'm doing. And it's just like, no, like most coaches have coaches when you put it into perspective like that.
There's a lot of people that would be worried to think that because they're getting a coach that other people think they're not good enough as a coach, and that's not the case like at all.
Not at all. And I think if anything it shows that you're aware of areas that you still need to improve on. You're aware that in terms of doing your own programming, you're probably not the best person to do so because you do always just fall to doing what you love and what you enjoy as opposed to doing what you boast well off of doing. But in terms of like my split, I always do 3 leg days a week. I've done that for 4 years. Like, do you think my legs got this
no, just the thought of constant DOMs is sickening.
I honestly don't know what DOMs feels like. I can't like.
Yeah, no, because you'll be at that point where you're physically used to doing that level of intensity throughout the week.
Exactly, and I think when speaking to a couple of coaches and doing like interviews and stuff, they was just kind of like, do you know, if we actually took down the volume of what you've done, like of what you do, you'd like your body would like thrive so much more, but you would also experience kind of like being a newbie again, because you'd up the intensity in terms of like weight and load moved, but you'd lower like volume and how long and you're actually moving the load for. So it was nice to get that perspective. But then in terms of other days, I'll do like one upper day, maybe two, it depends, and then 2 to 3 crossfitty metcon type circuits.
Very nice.
A lot of like endurance based stuff. Endurance combined with weightlifting.
Yeah, for me, the thing that I've always struggled with is actually fitting a leg day in, because football training's either Tuesday or Wednesday, and then we have a game on a Saturday.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm obviously usually quite sort of achy on a Sunday after playing a game, which is the day I used to do legs.
Yeah.
And so what I did was I scrapped that and had a rest day on a Sunday, because I'd always feel like I had to force myself, because I'd usually go out on a Saturday night as well. So forcing myself on a Sunday to then go and do legs is not the best. So I started doing them on a Monday, but then I'd be achy on a Wednesday for football training. And I enjoy doing legs, but it's just fitting it actually in the week.
I think, like, from you saying that, you need to go through that period of time of actually just getting it done. And like,
well, that's what I was doing, and then obviously we've ended up in another lockdown. So
but yeah, like 100%. A lot of people have that view as well, because when I've spoken, like whenever I take on new clients who are new to the fitness scene in general, after doing like a leg day, they'll be like, I'm so sore, like how am I meant to do legs like in 2 or 3 days time? And I'm just like, you do it.
You just
like,
gotta do it.
You have to at one point push through the motion, but it's differentiating between, have I like exhausted myself so much to the point where I'm overtrained and overworked, and doing another session is not going to like better me, or am I actually able to do it and just push through a bit of like the achiness that I'm still suffering from?
Well, it was like when I first started rowing, I only started with 3 sessions a week or 4 sessions a week, and then obviously ended up at 9. And I think there was only 1 session that I ever missed through overtraining. And yeah, that was more to do with me not sleeping enough because of college work and things like that. But yeah, your body definitely adapts to it. You've just got to push through that barrier to begin with.
100%.
We're going to take a slightly different sort of stance on this whole training as a woman, just because obviously now there is that positive movement for women to start lifting. And it seems, I don't know if you think it too, but do you think the whole lifting as a woman makes you look manly is sort of going away now that there's more women out there openly lifting on Instagram, or is it still there?
I think it's still very present, and it just kind of depends who you consume yourself into. So like the people, like obviously the saying like you're like your vibe attracts your tribe, and like who you like put your energy into can determine like how you feel, how you like what your perspective is on things. And I think if you put yourself in a position where you follow loads of females, and you follow like a lot of females who lift heavy, and like they have like these capped shoulders and they look, in my opinion, incredible, some people would view it as too much, then like you're gonna think that's the norm, and you're like, oh, like that's fine, like I don't think they look manly. But I think the kind of way in which people view manly is so different, because you only have to look at some of the comments that women receive to know that it's still very present. I think a lot, like even on my posts, whenever I post a side-by-side picture of how I've looked previously, I'm met with so many comments of, you look better before, like you're not feminine now. And I'm just like, what even is feminine? Because if you put me up against like somebody who was even more muscular than me, you'd be like, what? Like, and I just think it's so hard, because regardless, it shouldn't matter anyway. And I think the fact that we even say like lifting makes you look manly, like it's just, the statement in itself is so wrong, because it just associates like lifting weights with being a man's thing.
Yeah.
And like you only have to, I think it just depends as well, like who your inspirations are. So like my inspirations have definitely changed over the years, and I think now that I look more so to people like Tia Toomey, like world's fittest woman, how she looks, like if I said that to my sister, she'd be like, oh no, like I don't want my arms to be that big, I don't want shoulders that big. And I'm just like, but can you not appreciate the hard work that has gone into that?
Yeah, I totally get what you mean, and I think quite a lot of it is down to, like you say, like down to perception.
Yeah.
And obviously, from a physiological point of view, to begin with, women aren't, trying to word it right. Women aren't aren't built to have the same muscle as a man to begin with, just down to testosterone levels in general.
Yeah, we don't have the same genetic potential as a man.
Exactly. And I think a lot of the view that weightlifting makes you look like a man comes from sort of those elite level athletes who quite often you will find have been taking PEDs to begin with, and that is why they maybe do look more manly.
Yeah.
Because they are then getting the testosterone that a man has.
Yeah.
And I think
oh, sorry, carry on.
So like I think a lot of people see the extremes of what weightlifting can do, and you see that in men as well. It's not just women. You see like fellas that are like built like houses, and like 150, 200 kilo men. It's ridiculous.
I think like in saying that, it kind of takes away the hard work that has gone into people who are going, because building muscle.
Oh yeah, it's not easy. You've still got to put the work in, yeah.
Hard process, and I think when obviously girls going into doing it, they're like, oh, but I don't want to look manly, and I'm just like, you've been doing it a month.
Yeah.
Like don't put yourself on a pedestal, because you're not going to look manly. Like it takes so much more than what you think.
Yeah.
Unless you have like
it's years of consistency, isn't it, to even get close.
Nutrition that comes with it. It's
everything.
Like the people who look like that we put on a pedestal, like it's her life. Like she trains 2 to 3 times a day, and I think but I still think it's very, very present. That people do association.
But I think that's what needs to come out more, is the sort of knowledge that of how much effort you would actually have to put in to then look so-called manly.
100%.
Because these people are putting in, like you say, hours of work, hours of nutrition, training, resting. There's so much more that goes into it than lifting a couple of weights in the gym.
Exactly.
So,
it's easy.
Do you feel like you're a bit of an inspiration for other girls to start lifting? I see that you get quite a lot of comments sort of on your posts and things like that.
Yeah. The thing is, like, it's hard because I don't want to be like, yeah, I am.
No, it's completely fine. See, like you've got to that point that you are reaching a lot of people.
I do. I think the fact that I have girls messaging me as well saying like, you're the reason I started lifting, or you're the reason I now feel confident in what I do, or I have the confidence to lift more, definitely, like, it's still very surreal to me. And I think that's just because, like, obviously I have a very different take on it all anyway. That it blows my mind that somebody has been inspired by what I do, which is a norm for me. But yeah, like, I do have a lot of people who kind of like say that to me. I never really know how to take it. I'm not good at taking compliments, because I'm just like,
no, I'm the same.
You're only complimenting me on like my normal day-to-day life. But I think again, we underplay the work we put in, and we underplay what we have done to get to the point that we're at.
Well, I get totally what you're saying. I only have, like, say, like 5,000 followers during the first lockdown, I was posting, I think it was pretty much every day solidly for about, it was something like 70 days or something. I put a workout up every single day. And I was getting messages then saying, like, I even get messages now, people saying, like, you've helped me so much through these lockdowns. And I'm like, have I? Like,
when you put it into
bizarre
perspective,
to me.
it make me quite emotional, because I'm just
Yeah.
like, it blows my mind that just by me like posting, or like you posting a home workout, like in turn it's helped somebody so much, and that is like the positive side of like being in the fitness industry, and like one of the positives to come out of the fitness industry as well. And it's kind of, we have to look to what good there is in order to spur us on to do more, and like to keep doing what we are doing, because something is working.
Yeah, it's such a good platform to sort of spread positivity, and especially in the fitness sort of community now, there is a lot of support, I'd say.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's still surreal to me that literally posting one video can help someone.
And even if it's just one
yeah,
person.
yeah. That's the whole like what I say is, so I started my account to begin with to basically meet up with other people that are interested in fitness, and if I can, also help people out. And I say, if I put a post up and it helps one person, then for me it's done its job.
Yeah,
it's not necessarily about the likes and comments and everything on it. If it's helped one person, then I'm happy at the end of the day.
Exactly.
But also, so this is going to link in with the next sort of topic, which is then the negative side of the fitness community and online hate. Having a big account yourself, and I've actually seen some of your stories and things like that. How do you deal with online hate, and does it still bother you?
The thing is, like, I've been having a lot of these conversations recently, and I think in terms of like bothering me to the point where it would affect how I view myself and my confidence, and it would be detrimental on me mentally.
Yeah.
It doesn't, like, at all. I think I've got a very thick skin. I always kind of have. Obviously, there's the odd comment where I may just be like, oh, like,
has it in the past bothered you though? Like, has it affected you, like, sort of when it first started happening?
I think, I'm trying to think. So back in college, one of the reasons that spurred me on to actually start in the gym was because I was in like quite a bad relationship with this guy, and one of his friends called me fat. And like, I'd never been called fat in my life. And I just, like, I remember it being said, and everyone in like our common room was speaking about it, and I didn't know it had been said. And everyone was kind of speaking about it and like talking about it, and I was like, what has happened? Because I'd come in, like, everyone was talking, I was like, what has happened? And my boyfriend at the time took me to one side, and he was just like, Els, like, this has been said. And I burst into tears and run out, and like, I don't even know why, because the boy was so, like, I didn't really have any association with him, and it was just something that was said in an argument, like a heated argument between the two of them. It really, really got to me. I feel like I used that as like my fuel to want to prove him wrong almost, and I feel like in a sense I still do that, not from that comment, but from comments I still receive now. Like, I use them as fuel to like do better, or do the things that people say I'm doing. So like, say if somebody said to me now, oh, you shouldn't lift that heavy, like, you're a woman, or like, you shouldn't do this because blah blah blah, I'd just be like,
lift heavier.
You're giving me more reason to want to do it. I like, that's like, I think I take a lot of pride. Like, I am quite a proud person, I think, which makes me like want to prove people wrong. But I would say, like, at the start, when I first started receiving comments on Instagram, I never used to be one to get hate ever, really. Even when I was like back in the day, I feel like all girls go through this stage where they literally just like upload photos of their ass. But like, it literally in like underwear, like, that's it. I've definitely kind of moved away from that now. Not that I think there's anything wrong with it, but even back in the day when I was doing stuff like that, I never received really any hate, and it's not been until like the past year or two there's been like a sudden influx of a lot of people kind of like speaking negatively about what I do, and obviously it's come with like the audience that I have built, but
I think a
yeah, I
lot
don't
of it
know.
comes from jealousy, doesn't it?
I would say so. I think as well, obviously stemming from like personal insecurities. A lot, like I would say 95% of the hate I get is from men. So that's why I'm quite good at like disassociating myself from it and like detaching myself from it, because I'm just like, you're not even like, if it was coming from a woman, I may take it a bit more to heart.
Right.
I don't know why. I just think because
A lot of them
like
hide behind fake accounts as well, don't they? So half the time you don't even know who it is.
yeah, to be fair, yeah, that is true. But no, I am in quite a good position that none have really, really affected me. I think when I did go through a time of like quite poor mental health, I it would like, if I had gotten a comment like that back in the day, like it would have really had a big effect on me, because I just wasn't mentally like as stable.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know, like we obviously put ourselves into like the fitness industry and on the scene and more like susceptible to hate, as however much I hate to say that, but I don't know, I just guess you just learn to build up that thick skin. The thing that irks me most is the fact that people feel like they need to say what's on their mind all the time.
Yeah.
And it's just like, if like you spitting out negativity and like trying to insult me, trying to get a rise out of me, I can't, that's the thing I can't get around my head. Like, and I think that's the thing that affects me most, is that I can't imagine ever being in that position of doing that.
Yeah, the thing that baffles me is, if you don't like someone, you're following them, then you go through the effort to click on their post to then comment something. It's like, thanks for the engagement.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I've seen it recently. I've had somebody commented on my post that I did yesterday, and they were like, "Oh, I love what you do, but like some of your followers are actually destroying your reputation," because I've got like a couple of like females who will back me up in any argument. They will back me up in any comment, but to the point where I'm so grateful for it sometimes, but at the same time I am just like, I don't actually want this thread of negativity under a post. I'm meant to be doing the opposite. But yeah, I don't know. I think when people comment about like how I look physically, it doesn't affect me. I think if it was anything to do, I don't know, anything to do with like my morals or like ethical standpoints, I'd be more affected, because like it kind of like has an attachment to who I am as a person, as opposed to how I look, because you can't, I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I'd like to give my view on this, but I don't think I've ever had any online hate on my account yet. And it's been going for 3 years, and I'm like, am I doing something wrong? Because everyone else seems to get hate at some point. And I'm like, when's it coming? I think the only one thing I've had was a DM off some lad who said, you're not 100 kilos, more like 10 kilos. And that was it. I was like, why would I lie about how heavy I am? And I went and clicked on his profile, and he was a little string bean himself. And I left, the message in the requests. I left it there, and I was like, one day when I'm out getting drunk, I'm just going to go and reply to it and go like mad on it. In the end, I decided to delete it because it was probably a bad idea. But yeah, I don't know what it is. I just don't. Maybe I'm just the most liked person on Instagram. I don't know. Maybe that's it. But
I think it's not like, it's normal to not be liked. I think especially like as your audience grows, if you were to find that you were liked by every single person, it would be such a like anomaly. It's just not.
Well, that's it. That's why I'm expecting it to come at some point. It's like, when?
I mean, great. Like if you manage to go to like 10k, 50k, 100k without getting any, like, congrats. Like you've done something right. You've done something different to everyone else.
This, I don't know, but I used to quite often get a bit annoyed about, when you could see how many people had shared your story. And now they've taken that away off Instagram, haven't they, because of some new regulations. And every now and again, I'd have a look at them. I'm like, who has sent that story to someone? And it'd be like, on some of them, it'd be like 10 shares. I'm like, 10 people have shared that. I'm like, who's it gone to? Part of me thinks quite a lot of the time it's my mates just taking the mick out of me in like a group chat somewhere. But that doesn't bother me too much. I'm used to that now. But I'm like, there's someone sharing these stories somewhere, and it probably used to get to me, and like, obviously now I can't see it, but I'm still thinking there's people still sharing it, and I always wanted to know who and why.
I get what you mean. I've definitely gone through that as well. I think there was one post that done like really well back in the day, and I think it had something like 7,000 of those shared through stories.
Jeez.
But it was a photo of, and like, when you can see how many people saved something.
Yeah.
It was something like, I don't know, like 25 or 30k saved.
Jesus Christ.
And this is what like really kind of like makes me feel a bit sick, is the fact that it was a photo of literally just like me in like lounge weary type stuff. I'd said nothing of value in the.
It was just like a straight up photo.
Yeah, said nothing of value, and I was just like, when I look back at the content I was producing a year ago, although nothing wrong with it, no value whatsoever. And it received much more engagement. It was much more appealing to my audience, clearly. But equally at the same time, like, I didn't enjoy it as much as the content I produce now, which receives much less engagement, but in terms of how I feel, I enjoy it a lot more. And it receives a lot less shares, a lot less sends. But
I think that's the thing though, isn't it? It's, if you put like a photo, like an aesthetic photo up, and you don't really put much of a caption, it's quite easy for someone to scroll past, double tap it and drop a like. Whereas if you actually put something up that you've took time to write out, and it's like big paragraph of information, or it's a video, a lot of people are just gonna probably scroll past it because they can't be bothered taking the time out to read it, which annoys me quite a lot. Because I could literally, I don't get anywhere near as much engagement as you, but I could put a post up and it could literally be a photo with, like, I put one up the other day actually when I was in Liverpool with the Liver Wings, and that's done better than most of my posts over the last couple of weeks. I'm just like,
crazy, isn't it?
It's literally just a photo. It provides no value whatsoever to you. And I get asked quite often, how did you get sponsored by My Protein and all this, that, and the other? I'm like, have you got any tips? And I'm like, I get this email, like this message quite often, and it does do my head in quite often. Because people are just starting out accounts, basically trying to get sponsored. And the first thing I say is, stop posting topless selfies and provide people with some value. Because that is going to get you more. That'll get you more places than you with your top off.
Do you know? And I think that has been my biggest realization in the past year or two, because I'm just like, what am I actually doing? Like, what is my purpose and stance of being this supposed fitness influencer? What am I influencing? What is my purpose? I don't want to be known as just another female within the fitness industry. Like, I want to be known as like, and looked up to as like a professional coach, or looked to as like an inspiration, like not just another female posting photos. But I get asked question a lot as well, like, how did you get sponsored by My Protein? And I'm just like, if you only knew, I reached out to them at like 10k, got accepted, like, but just as affiliate, which is what there's
I started off as affiliate.
Thousands of affiliates. Like, you can join an affiliate program now, can't you? Or something
you just sign up through the website, I think. And then if you get accepted, I think it's like an automated thing. You get your own commission link, don't you?
Crazy. And then you kind of go into doing commission. Is it commission? Like, you get commission?
You get commission off the link.
Is that affiliate?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And
I don't know what the stages are now. I think they're slightly different to what they were back in the day. But like it's kind of like everyone strives for the same route now. Everyone strives for like that brand sponsorship. Then they want like,
instead of doing what you actually enjoy to begin with.
100%. Like it's like we all kind of need to follow the same already pre-written path of being an influencer. Whereas if you actually done what you know, you kind of stayed in your lane, or you educated yourself more to move into another, you'd be able to like produce the content maybe that you want to produce, and the content that's going to get you maybe brand deals and sponsorships and stuff like that. But I think with Instagram at the moment, everybody comes in with say 500 followers, or they get to 1,000, they're just like, yep, where are the brand deals? I need to start being paid. Like, where's my payment? I'm not doing content for free. And I'm just like, if I had that view, I have not started earning money from social media. I didn't start earning money from social media until less than a year ago.
I've never charged for a post. Like, you know, if like a company sent me stuff out, I get told quite a lot by people, you should be sending your rates. And I'm like, one, I wouldn't know where to start with rates, so I don't have any. And two, it's like, I've not got that much power to be turning around and going, you need to pay me for this, when I've only got 5,000 followers.
Yeah, I think as well, like, I only started charging since I got management. And that was a couple of months ago now. And I think when she came to, like, when I spoke to my manager, she was like, you should have been charging this amount. And I was like,
it's a silly amount that you can charge, isn't it, once you get to a certain
I read a story the other day, and they were literally saying in it, like, if you've got 50k on Instagram now, like, you could charge anywhere from like 1k to like 2.5k a post. And I was like, what?
You're sat there with 270,000 thinking, what?
I'm just like, I think there definitely needs to be that element of not doing stuff for free, but you need to earn the right.
Exactly.
I just think so many people come into the space now expecting like big things to happen, and it's just like, no, like anything, like going to the gym, you need to put in that element of grind first, because like, quite frankly, why should you come into a space and like earn optimal amount? Like the influencer space is so oversaturated now.
Massively.
That in order to separate yourself from the masses, you need to be providing something somewhat different. Like, you need to find like your niche or whatever. It's hard to find a niche in a field that everyone is just a regurgitated version of another person.
Yeah, definitely. Like you see so many samesies accounts. Like, I get followed by them quite often, and it's like, it'll be either a lad and it'll be 75% topless photos and I don't know, whatever else in between. And then you'll be a girl and it'll be, I don't know, 75% booty pics and maybe some food. And it's like, everyone's doing the same thing. You've got to sort of stand out if you want to get anywhere, because otherwise we're going to have thousands and thousands of the same people all sponsored by the same companies.
Yeah, and it just then gets to a point where like people who maybe aren't in the space and aren't in the industry, so like you only have to go onto Twitter and see the amount of people that are like, Instagram drives me insane. Like I hate influencer culture. I hate influencers. Like, they all annoy me, blah blah blah. You only have to go onto a different platform to understand that so many people are getting so frustrated with it.
The thing that I dislike as well is the term influencer. I think is massively not understood. Everyone seems to think an influencer is someone with all these sponsorship deals and discount codes, when for me an influencer is someone, like we've talked about, that can actually provide value to someone and sort of impact someone's day, instead of going, I got sent this, use my discount code, thank you. Like, that, to me, that's not an influencer. That the only thing that's doing is influencing you to buy clothes, which technically is an influencer. But the way I'd see it is someone that's actually providing someone with value that can help them.
100%. It's such a loop.
Yeah. So when someone sort of puts you in a bracket of influencer, I don't tend to get put in it, but I assume you do, just from a following standpoint. But yeah, I don't like the term, essentially.
I think there is kind of like a lot of influencers. The thing is, as well, like, I don't know, we don't really know like what else to say in terms of like associating ourselves with, I don't know, like whenever I talk about it, I'm just like, yeah, I do a bit of like content creation, I do a bit of social media, because I don't want to say
yeah, that's it, because as soon as you say to someone, oh, I'm an influencer, they just think, oh, you're a shop window.
Yeah, it's just like, I think the term's so kind of tarnished, and there's like this preconceived idea of what an influencer is, that everyone's kind of like disassociates themselves from it. Well, I mean, some people are like, yeah, I'm an influencer, whereas some people are like, please don't call me that.
Yeah, exactly. No, I totally agree. So the final bit of this, overall, do you think Instagram is a positive or negative platform?
Hard. From my standpoint, positive. If I've got my rose tinted glasses on, positive. I think it definitely depends on how you use it and who you follow. And I think there's so many issues and, I don't know, like controversy, because so many people aren't prepared to unfollow the people that are actually doing them harm.
Yeah.
You get what I mean? I think.
Yeah, sort of like negative energy catches on more than positive energy sometimes. It's like, if you look, you only have to look in the news, don't you? Like, a negative headline is going to get more views and more attention than a positive news article. And I think that's I think that's what a lot of people focus on, is when there is something negative, it sort of gets blown out of proportion. So people say someone had 100 comments on their post, 99 of them could be positive, but they'd only focus on that one negative.
Yes.
Which is, I think that's something that we need to move away from more than anything, is stop focusing on that one negative when you've got 99 positives.
I do agree with that. I think when you come from like quite a self-sabotaging mindset, and I think the further you kind of get into like the fitness industry and like being involved within like influencer culture and content creation, you become very self-critical of what you do, and it's so hard to kind of like disassociate yourself with maybe some of the negatives that are being said, because I think where you're so like, I'm speaking from like probably personal standpoint as well, where I'm so used to like the same comments of like, you look amazing, like you go girl, like woo, like you do you boo, blah blah blah, and I love it. But like when you kind of like have that slight, like, what's the word, that slight difference in the sense that somebody's then come at you and said maybe, oh, like, look at you, like you look like a man, you put so much fixation onto that, and it's without even realizing, like unintentionally you put so much fixation onto the bad, and so much energy onto the bad, and it's definitely, I think, a common trait within a lot of people online, but it's definitely something I need to work on, I think, as well. Like, I'll put and use like negative comments sometimes as like fuel for a post, and then some people point it out, like you have, they'll be like, why are you pointing out the one negative?
Well, no, to be fair, I have no issue with people doing posts because of a negative comment. If anything, you're using that to your advantage by getting more content.
Yeah, no, I do agree.
And sometimes people do need to sort of be outed, I think.
Yeah.
But as long as you're not letting it bother you, then I don't think there's too much of an issue with it, if you know what I mean.
I agree. I would say the same.
And I think a lot of people as well need to just realise there's a delete button. Like, if you see a comment that you don't like, just swipe and press a little bin. Because a lot of people either leave it there or then retaliate, and then it gets blown even further out of proportion to the point where it's completely pointless, because the person that's probably commented it is hiding behind a fake profile anyway in the first place.
Exactly. So yeah, I guess in short, it is a good place, but it just depends how you use it.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm.
For me, I've found it quite a positive place because I've met a lot of people that I probably never would have if I hadn't made the account, like yourself, to begin with.
Yeah.
Um, but like I said, I've not really experienced any negativity from it so far, as such. I count myself quite lucky. And I do think, in general, it is a positive place anyway. In the fitness community, especially, I see a lot of people supporting each other now, especially new accounts and things like that. There's a lot of people bigging each other up, and I think there's a sort of micro community of women lifters as well that I keep seeing to see. A lot of people hyping each other up.
Agree with that. I think I've never felt like I've been a part of the community, if I'm being completely honest. That's probably why I maybe have like a slightly different perception. I've never really the only people I've really met are you and Taylor in person anyway. I went to my protein event, met like really lovely girls. I've met, do you know Double Dench from my protein? Met him, like absolutely, like we're still in contact sometimes, and he's quite local to me, but other than that, like I've never really felt like I've fitted in within the community, so I've kind of just like steered out of kind of like that social side of it. I can definitely see like within micro influencers, like there's kind of that, there's a much more like tight-knit community. I love it.
I've well, for, like I was saying before, one of the reasons I actually did start this was to sort of meet people that were more interested in the gym. Like my mates are into going to the gym, but they're not social media people like we are sort of posting about it all the time. And I just wanted to get into the sort of community, and then obviously go into body power. I met up with quite a few people that weekend actually that I'd met through Instagram, and I planned on doing the same last year, but obviously that got stopped. And I have big plans as well to, like I was basically planning to go and meet people to do vlogs and stuff like that, which has ended up being turned into this podcast. So
you've took the plunge and you've finally done it.
Yeah, basically. So I'm quite in the moment person, which is why last year when I did that charity thing in memory of my granddad, when I did the rowing every day of April, I basically decided to do that 2 days before with no training. I decided to do this podcast, I think it was 2 days before the first one with Manny. Never done a podcast in my life. So I planned on again meeting up with people this year, and obviously the show has carried on with the lockdowns and things like that. So I thought, I've been thinking for a while about setting up a podcast, and I just didn't know how to do it, whether it'd be good enough to actually host one. I don't know if I am yet. I haven't had enough feedback. So hopefully. But for me, I like learning sort of on the job instead of coming with a ready-made sort of solution. So with my Instagram, if you would literally scroll, I don't think I've ever really deleted a single post. So there's about 750 posts there now. So if you scrolled all the way to the bottom, you would see how bad the quality of my stuff was. And for me, I like seeing the growth of that through to being better. And there's too many people, I think, out there now that want everything to be perfect from the get-go. And
they come in from perfection. They come in with standards so high already. And I think as well, like even in terms of business, they want like the success of a 10-year business, but don't really
it's not going to happen.
Like everybody wants instant like gain and instant success without actually putting in like work or.
Well, it's the exact same with weightlifting as well. You're not going to come in and be able to be the strongest person in the gym, are you? You've got to put the work in, and that is the plan with this podcast, and hopefully it progresses through the episodes.
I reckon it will. We'll proper plug this, get a bit of traction going.
Love it. We are gonna go on to the final section of the podcast, which is your interesting fact.
Okay, I have written it down. Don't hate
prepared. Me. No, that's fine.
So. It's a bit of a more like nerdy one, but there are more iterations of a game of chess than there are atoms in the known universe. Now, when you look at atoms, they don't know the exact, like it's an estimated number, but it's anywhere from 10 to the power of 78 to 10 to the power of 82. Now, if you go home and do...
That's a lot of atoms.
If you go and do your homework with that, when you put in perspective, like 10 to the power of 100 is like 10 followed by 100 zeros.
Yep.
So the fact that you can do that many iterations of chess, I was like, I love chess. That's why I chose it. Yeah. That's
a very good fact.
Do your homework. Find out what 10 to the power of 70 is.
That is a lot.
Who knew?
Well, we do now.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that is the podcast wrapped up. So if you've made it to this point of the podcast, thank you for watching. And if you're not already, make sure you drop a like and subscribe below. And we will see you in the next one in episode 3.
See you later.